Hello everybody, here I am again, Richard the storyteller, taking you back, keeping going, keeping this long story winding on. So join me under the walls of the city of story. Wait for that storyteller to appear. And he's coming up quickly now, seems to be agitated, and he stands looking down at everyone, and he says, the thing is, the king is there standing, looking down the length of this beautiful valley, and at the end he sees a tower, a huge tower, from which the wind appears to be blowing. That's the thing, says the storyteller, and he's determined to find out the answer to that question. So he starts to walk down through that beautiful valley. Oh, it's enough to soothe anyone. Grass, trees, sunlight, and winding, babbling river. And as he walks down there, he realizes that it's filled with mice. Mice running around, lying in the sun, carrying things in their mouths or on their backs, making their nests, digging holes. And as he goes past them, he realizes that they see him and look up at him, and they call to him, "Help us! Help us, please! Help us if you will!" He stops and looks down at them and says, "Help you about what?" And the mice, their little eyes widen. They say, "You understand our language?" "Well, yes," says the king. My mother was a witch, well, a queen as well, and she said that we should understand the languages of every single thing in our kingdom. So I learnt them all, including yours. And the mice looked up at him, looked him up and down and said, "Are you a king?" The king, in his dirty clothes, his hobnail boots, his old jacket, said, "Well, yes, I am, and what might be your problem?" And the mice gathered round him now and started to talk all at once. You see, the problem is, there's an owl. This is a beautiful valley. We want to make our lives here. But the owl comes every night and tries to catch us. Please, if you can, do something about the owl. "Oh, well, all right then," says the king. "I will." And walking on, still feeling wet and bedraggled in his dirty, damp, old clothes, he heads towards that great tower from which the wind is blowing, and he comes to the vast door, and he sees the bell pull, and he pulls the rope, and a big echoing ring goes through the tower. And up at the top, the giant, with his leather bag, is sitting there peacefully blowing the wind. And at the sound of the bell, he looks over the top of the tower. And he comes down to where the giantess is sitting in the big room downstairs. And he says, "You'll never guess who's come." "What? Who's come now?" "It's that peasant." "What? You know the one who came before, complaining about the wind knocking over his trees? That one? How do you know?" "Because he's wearing the same clothes. I'd recognise those dirty old clothes anywhere. Find out what he wants now." The giantess said, "Really, you must calm down." She goes to the door and opens it. And the king looks up at that gigantic face looking down at him. And the giantess says, "Yes?" And the king says, I've come about the wind." She shuts the door. "You're right, you know. It's the same one, and he's complaining about the wind again. Oh, says the giant, what can we give him now? I gave him a box and then another box. I mean, what else? I know, says the giantess. Why don't you give him that leather bag? Then he'll have nothing to blame us for. Should I? Says the giant. I mean, I quite... Yes, says the giantess. It causes you so many problems. It upsets you so much. Just give it to him, and then you'll be so much happier. Well, says the giant, I suppose, actually, yeah. Then he'll never come back. And he takes that leather bag from under his elbow, shifts and moves, and he makes it smaller, gives it to her, and says, give it to him. Tell him that's it. And so she opens the door again, and the king looks up at her, and she says, here, take this, and don't come back again. She throws the bag down at his feet. She slams the door. The king looks and picks it up. It shifts and moves. He doesn't quite know what to do with it. It seems to be alive. He puts it under one arm and he tries to wedge it. And as he squeezes it, a breeze blows and he sees that the leaves fall from the trees. Now it seems to be shifting, and he holds it again and squeezes it again, and now the trees start to sway, and he stops, and the trees stop. Suddenly, he realizes what he's holding. But he still doesn't know what he should do. When he looks around, the door is shut. The ocean down by the tower is cold, and the sun is setting, and it's getting dark. So the king turns and walks back into the valley, and now he hears little voices calling to him, help us from that owl, please. And the night falls. Dark, dark night. And the king stands in the silence of the valley, listening to the sound of the river wandering down towards the sea. And then he hears a sound. Twit. And in the dark night sky, he's aware of something with white wings fluttering. An owl, a great owl with yellow eyes. It swoops, flies, stretches its wings, lands on the branch of a tree, and looks around. And then it sees the king. It gazes at him. And he gazes back into those eyes, and for a while the owl and the king simply stare at one another. And then the owl again. Twit! And it spreads its wings, flies high, circles round, steepling, and dives down towards the king with its talons outstretched. And the king, adjusting his bag, blows. And as the owl comes towards him, the breeze throws that owl back up again. It circles round and it flies back towards him. And now it seems to be bigger, its wings larger. It flaps towards him, its talons, and he squeezes the bag again and sends it higher, and now it circles round. Its eyes are blazing. It's monstrous, with its wings so large. It comes towards him, and with one last desperate The king sends a breeze, a wind, a gale that sends the trees shaking and the owl flying up high, spinning like a rag. And it plummets and crashes down in the valley. And the mice cheer and shout, "You've done it, you've done it." But the king stops and says, "What have I done?" And now he runs. He's running towards where that scrap of white feathers fell. And when he gets there, there is no longer an owl. A man is lying there in long robes, with his head half out of the cowl, pressed to the grass. His eyes are closed. And the king says again, "What have I done?" And he kneels down and touches that body. And a groan comes out. The mice have gathered behind him, and the king looks at them desperately and looks back. And the man lying there, eyes closed, whispers, "Help me, help me, help me." Yes, says the storyteller, that's the whole point, isn't it? That somehow we should help each other. And the king will help that owl man, I promise you. But that will have to wait till tomorrow. And I promise you the same thing. So if you meet me here tomorrow, I'll tell you what happened next. And until then, goodbye.